But he's a talking hairdo, and I say that proudly. He's Tim Cowlishaw, Dallas Morning News, working on just a little bit of sleep and perhaps working on his hair for Around the Horn later on. Tim joins us now. Tim, how are you today?
Well, the hair is struggling here in the cold, but I haven't left Chicago yet. But otherwise, I'm fine.
How cold was it?
It was really cold. It was. I talked to a few people. I mean, the Chicago people were saying that this is really cold. Just the walk from the cab to the media gate, which takes about 3 minutes. That was all I could endure. How people sit outside for 3 hours, I have no. Well, I know exactly how they do it. I don't do that anymore, so I can't join them. So,
but you're looking at the conditions, and I think people thought, common wisdom would be it's going to be a low scoring game. And then I think we forgot to factor in that the Cowboys, they can't stop anybody, and the Bears' run defense is horrible. So it turned out to be a shootout.
Two really bad teams, and if you think about it, even Sunday, all those snow games, they all had some wild fourth quarters. So teams can move. I think it's really hard on defenders, defensive backs to backpedal and cut and move on this stuff. So I think it was made for big plays, but Lord knows no defense is going to give up more big ones than the Cowboys.
Okay, but you bring in Monty Kiffin, and as Tony Dungy and Rodney Harrison said at the beginning of the year, okay, Tampa 2 and all of that stuff and his resume, but you don't have the personnel to run his defense. How is that overlooked by everybody involved there in Dallas?
They were talking about Bruce Carter being the Derek Brooks of this team. I mean, it's just so comical to look back on. They might have two guys who you would say fit some of those roles. Maybe Sean Lee, if he was healthy, and Jason Hatcher could do some of those things, but they don't have the personnel to do anything. They try to get all their pressure with their front four. They didn't get close to McCown. He just picked them apart. The secondary, those guys are wide open. It's embarrassing to watch.
What happens if the Cowboys miss the playoffs?
I really think Jason Garrett stays. But Jerry, I'll say this. Jerry gave Chan Gailey a vote of confidence very late in that season in '99, and then he fired him at the end of the year when he got mad after a Saints loss. So if it went really badly, say they lose two more, and they just get to 8-8, and maybe they lose the division by 2 games to the Eagles, then I would think he might pull the trigger. He doesn't want to. He still believes in Garrett. I don't know what he does about defense because he made the change last year, but they have to see this is far worse than a year ago.
But you look at this situation. Do you look at the Redskins situation to say it could be worse than what it is in Dallas now? I mean, do you compare? You're in the NFC East with this team?
They used to like to do that, but I think if you had a different coach who would get on the same page with RG3, you wouldn't say the Redskins situation's worse. The Redskins haven't had any draft picks for the last 2 years or any salary cap money. They haven't been able to build anything around him. If he got back to where he was a year ago, wouldn't you rather have that than Tony Romo going to be 34?
Well, and here's another thing. No matter what I say, people always say you bang on Romo all the time. I can't blame this on Tony Romo. It wasn't close enough for him to lose, and they decided they were going to run the football last night. But as you move forward in Dallas, coaching staff, personnel, something has to change going into next year, even if you eke into the playoffs, I would think.
Even if you say like you just did, last night wasn't on Romo. Romo wasn't good, and he was playing against a bad defense. And when they had that three straight incompletions right before halftime and a 3-and-out, that's what gave the Bears a chance to score in the final minute, and just because until then it's a 17-14 game. Until then it's a battle.
Well, I was trying to look at the other negatives instead of bringing Tony.
Well,
like
the other ones were bigger. They were more glaring last night.
Yeah, there's more blame to go around than just Romo.
Sure.
But I still look at this team. You got weapons, and I just don't think you can score enough to make up for that defense. Do you expect Aaron Rodgers to play against the Cowboys next weekend?
I expect him to play left-handed against the Cowboys after watching last night's game, if that's necessary. Why would you not want to play? They're not just last in defense, Dan. They're last by 25 yards out of 31st. They're so far behind the Vikings for 31st, they can't even see them.
I just had a stat. You have to go back to 1965. The Oilers, who had 5 games where they allowed 490 yards or more. So the Cowboys, this is something that hasn't happened in, over 4 decades.
And our kids matched that last night. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Congrats.
And we got 3 to go.
Yeah, you still got a couple.
We're not even playing an old AFL style football. That's pretty good.
And you got the Eagles in the final game of the season.
Oh, Nick Foles looking for revenge.
Well, that running attack. They had 200 yards rushing in the final quarter of that game.
Well, this was the second game. There's been 3 games in the NFL this year where a team didn't punt. 2 of them were against Dallas. The Saints punted once, but they scored 49 points.
How does that happen?
They just everything is bad about the defense. Even you go to the best player, it's pretty obvious DeMarcus Ware either is still hurt or is a declining player. There's nothing good to be said about this defense right now.
Yeah, it's just and Jerry Jones. Now, what is it like as a columnist there in Dallas when Jerry goes down to the locker room? He's sort of waiting to be interviewed, holding court. Is that how it happens after every game?
Yeah, and you have to decide if you're going to go and sit in the interview room and get Garrett and Romo, or if you want to get Jerry. I mean, but yeah, he has the biggest crowd around him, bigger crowd, since Romo goes and does his in an interview room. Jerry has the biggest crowd around him of anybody in the locker room, and he usually talks for about 10 minutes.
Does he realize he's part of the problem?
Yeah, I'm sure somewhere in the back of the mind he does, but he still trots out having a general manager who doesn't fear being fired is a great thing to have tool that nobody really believes in anymore, but he still puts it out there.
Good to visit with you. You on Around the Horn later today?
I know I'm flying back today. I will be on. You can cheer for me tomorrow and Thursday.
Do you realize that? I mean, I don't know the end result, but I'm there on the edge of my couch when I'm watching you.
I feel your presence every time.
Yeah, but don't be afraid to give a shout out too. I mean, like at your final, if you win and then you get your 30 seconds.
Yeah, just big shout out to you. Well, I guess eventually everybody mends their fences at ESPN, right?
Well, would you get in trouble if your 30 seconds of airtime was, I would just like to give a shout out to somebody who entertained me as a child growing up.
Yeah.
Danny Patrick, you might remember him.
Yeah, I once saw him throw a dart in somebody's hand. That guy.
That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, but that was a whole different Tim Cowlishaw.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that guy exists. So.
Yeah, you're sober now. Yeah. You're not supposed to remember all those things.
Those things I remember, they may not have even happened.
Do you realize so I threw a dart and hit somebody?
In their hand. They were going up to get their darts, and you just popped it in their hand. They just pulled it out and kind of shrugged and like, what is he doing?
Wait.
Maybe it doesn't hurt that much to get hit by a dart if it's going really slow.
Did I hit you?
No. You hit a friend of mine.
I did.
Yeah.
Where were we?
We were, what is that called? Right off McKinney Avenue in Dallas. It was during the Mavs Heat series, but we were there. We were watching Edmonton, Carolina, Game 6 or Game 7.
Oh, gosh. Why is it that you remember and I don't? What's that say about me that night?
I got a book for you to read.
Yeah, I've read that. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Danny.
Zing! It's a walk-off, Tim Cowlishaw. He's got a book on sobering up. And, yeah, good dude. Good dude. Always a good time. Tim Cowlishaw, Dallas Morning News. And a talking hairdo on Around the Horn.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.